Hello and welcome to Stockwatch, presented by me, Evan Lucas, for Go Market Securities. As always, please have a very good read through of the disclaimer on screen. Everything in this video is general in nature, none of which relied upon as any personal advice. Go Market Securities does not know your personal scenario, nor your personal financial goals, and therefore none of which relied upon as any form of advice at all. It is just general in nature only. The big Australian, BHP, comes out with an underlying profit of $10.7 billion US. That's a 37% decline on the previous quarter. Not unsurprising, because what the results from BHP today showed is that the COVID boom is over. And we knew that. And we'd already been telling us in their production reports. But overall, the number was interesting because if you look at it, there's a significant reduction in their main four players. Lower prices in iron ore, lower prices in metallurgical coal, lower prices in copper. The only one that was up was nickel, and they're still not actually doing anything with potash, so that needs to be put out there quite clearly. BHP did actually manage to increase copper, iron ore, and nickel sales volumes. They also did well with the exchange rates, which were favourable. Not surprising considering the Aussie dollar is falling, and therefore the US dollar exchange rate is helping them. But underlying EBITDA declined primarily result of those price commodity changes. And if you look at it, if you look at something like iron ore, it went from about 100 wet metric per tonne down to 92. If you look at thermal coal, it dropped from well and truly over the 14k down into 10. If you look also at copper, it went from $4.10 or thereabouts per pound down to $3.90. And that is going to have a significant impact. But it's not all bad news. And I want to point out very clearly that their management of their balance sheet is really, really strong, which you should expect from a company like BHP. The acquisition of Oz Minerals has done well. And they're now, showing very clearly that the acquisition of what they're going to refer to as South Australia Copper is quite solid. Carrapateena is doing nicely. Olympic Dam is doing nicely. Even if you look at Escondida, it too is doing quite well. You look at the overall numbers that are going on at Warrow, and the iron ore project in Western Australia is still very, very neat and tidy in where it sits. Good numbers overall, but it cannot excuse the fact that underlying net profit was a miss. And it did miss consensus by about 2%. And in the world of BHP, that's a lot. Though you need to point that normally they're within at least half, maybe as bad as 1% from consensus. A 2% miss is going to get a bit of a headache. The company's down 4.5% since the start of the year. Still has never gone through $50, which is quite interesting, but got to 49.55. This result is good, and I'm not going to go away from that, but it is a miss. And that miss is going to be also from the point of view that they are now talking about looking towards not just China, but India, which shows their next thing. They are all about New World. They are all about New World metals, but also New World markets. And that means a pivot. And the China pivot is on. BHP have made that very, very clear that the future of where they're heading is to India and is into the subcontinent rather than looking at the northern part of Asia. And that makes complete sense. They're also spending much more money on decarbonisation, which is commendable, but it will cost. And that was there. Because the other thing that was really strong in their overall operational costs, labour costs, electricity and diesel was hit by significant inflation, but also those decarbonisation costs are in part of it. That has to be absorbed now as a shareholder. Be aware that that is the future, and so it should be for BHP's concentration. They are going to be part of the future, and therefore carbonisation is part of it. So those cost sides you're going to have to also accept as the future of BHP. It is a very stereotypical BHP number. It is very clear that their four pillars, with the fifth one coming on sometime in the next decade in potash, is what they are going to be very, very good at and will continue to be the world leader. But we are in the transition period, and that therefore means volatile periods are on and volatile operations are on.